Hello, my sweet friends, and welcome back to Book Time. I am so excited that you are here, and I am so excited that we are in full fall mode. It is now October. I am doing my September wrap-up. I am loving this weather. It is getting colder. The spooky season is coming in. We're so excited for Halloween reads, and it has just been such a great time. Now, the month of September, surprisingly enough, I had a lot of good reads that I was not expecting to love as much as I did. So I cannot wait to share with you all of my reads. Let's watch and see how I rated all of these books for September. Coming in at number 1 is Spark of the Everflame by Penn. This book is trending. Now, it's not only trending because it's an excellent book, and I would have it in physical form, but here's another reason why it's trending. The covers are being republished. They are making new beautiful covers. If you don't know, there was a spoiler on the second cover. It has now been removed. But these covers, these books that are the original books that she self-published are amazing, and they're trending on Pango. People are paying top dollar for these books. And if you do not know that, run. If you don't want to be a collector of these, if you're not a hoarder like me, I hoard some books, but like not all. But if you're someone who likes to just, get books flowing, make sure they come in, they go out. This book I sold for $55, and I have seen them go for upwards of $100. So definitely snatch that opportunity and grab your money if that's something that you want to do. But as far as the review goes, I gave this book 5 freaking stars. It was perfection. I truly cannot think of a book that I have enjoyed more as far as fantasy goes of late. Now, I am an ACOTAR girly, but I will say this book felt kind of like Throne of Glass with a hint of maybe, I don't know, The Heartless Hunter. Like there's a little bit of elements in there, like she has a past that nobody knows about. She has mystery about her life. Essentially, the book is about kindreds. They are immortal people who came down from their realm and decided that they wanted to coexist with the mortals on Earth, and they also wanted to procreate. Now, each kindred had a specific magical power, and whenever they were able to, come together with the mortals and marry them and have children, part of their realm and part of their bloodline would have the power, the magical power that each kindred possessed. So flash forward to the kingdom now. There are 9 different realms, and each realm comes from the bloodline of the original kindred who was immortal and gave up their mortality to marry a mortal. Now, in saying that, the kindred still have procreated with the mortals, and that way a lot of them have lived longer lives. Like if they are direct descendants from the kindred, like close descendants, then they have, the bloodline of power. But of course, there were already mortals on Earth. So there are 2 different classes of people. There are the kindreds, the basically half-breeds, and then there are mortals. And as you can imagine, with different people groups, there are so many opportunities to have fights and war and disagreements, and the realms are fighting. Well, there's one girl who has a big destiny, and nobody really knows what her past is. She has powers that she doesn't fully understand how to grasp. They're kind of clawing and gnawing at her, and she's trying to suppress them. And she has kind of her mother guarding her. Her mother is guarding the secret. And the secret that she's specifically guarding is who is this girl's father. She doesn't really know. And her mother actually married someone who is not her father. So she has powers. She has a mysterious father, and she's been having these situations where her power is without her will coming to the surface. There's also kind of a love triangle brewing with a boy that she has known since she was young, and a kindred who is completely off limits because she is supposedly not half-breed, not in the lineage of someone who could marry a kindred. So there's a lot of different things at play, and it's a lot, and I don't know if I even did a good job explaining it. But the amazing thing is when you get to the end of this book, a huge piece of the puzzle is revealed. Now, currently there are 3 books. The 4th will be published. But I love this series so far. I am going to continue on. It has been such an amazing series. And when you get to the end of the book, you find out a secret that has been brewing the entire book and your mind is blown. It is just as good as Crown of Midnight, Throne of Glass, when you find a secret revealed that just blows your mind. It is so, so good. Check it out. Coming in at number 2, I have a physical copy, but I have misplaced it, much to Wendy's dismay, because she's trying to borrow this book and I cannot find it. I will find it. But this is The Pumpkin Spice Cafe by Laurie Gilmore. I mean, it was just okay. I gave it a 3-star, mostly because it had a lot of Gilmore Girl vibes. It is basically following a girl who's trying to get her life back together. She is intern working for her aunt and opening up her aunt's cafe. And so it is obviously the Pumpkin Spice Cafe. And during the process that she's trying to open up this cafe, there's a mysterious element that someone is trying to basically put obstacles in her way or scare her off and away from the town at every different turn. So she has people messing up her property, breaking in, mislaying all of her things, sabotaging her refrigerators and her coffee machines and all these different things. And she doesn't understand what's going on. And she hears creepy noises at night. And it's basically a mystery element to it, but it's also a cozy vibe. So you're trying to figure out what in the world is going on. Well, there's also a local flavor and he is adorable. I will say that the male character in this book is quite sweet. He reminds me so much of Luke. I will say that the main female character does not remind me so much of Lorelai, but the main male character absolutely does. It is set in a small town, and I think it's called Dream something, Dreamtown or Dream something. I forget. It's been a minute. I read it at the beginning of September, but it was such a cute story. But I will just say that there were random spicy scenes that felt very contradictory to the plot. They just didn't flow. I felt like this story was very disjointed, and it was like somebody was trying to write a smutty book overlaid on a cozy mystery, overlaid on women's fiction, overlaid on a humor satire book. There was just a lot going on, and I just felt like it didn't follow a conscientious stream of thought. It was just kind of all over the place. So for that reason, I gave it a 3-star. It was just okay. There was a cat in it, which was super cute, and I did like the town. They had town meetings, and they had really quirky characters just like Stars Hollow, but it was off-brand Stars Hollow that's also kind of gross. I don't know. Icky, sexy, too much. So anyway, didn't love it. The next book that I read, I actually have a physical copy. This is Gentle and Lowly by Dane Ortlund. I loved this book. I will say that this book just hit me at a time where I needed it most. And I just really needed to know and be reminded that God understands me and that Jesus is my advocate. And if you're a Christian like me, sometimes you forget that Jesus is not only our high priest making intercession before the Lord, but he's also our advocate. He gets in our corner and he is the one who makes us righteous before God. And this book for me, and it might not be for everybody, but have you ever needed to be reminded of something so much before it gets down in your heart? This book definitely does have repetition, but in my opinion, I felt like the repetition was unique every time, and I really enjoyed it. I'll read an excerpt. So it says, "It is our weakness that Jesus sympathizes with. He knows what it is like to be thirsty, hungry, despised, rejected, scorned, shamed, embarrassed, abandoned, misunderstood, falsely accused, suffocated, tortured, and killed. He knows what it's like to be lonely, and he is accessible to those who need him, for he understands." And I thought that was so great. If you're someone who's been walking through a season where you just feel like your relationship with God kind of just feels dry and it blows, and you just really need to be reminded that Jesus loves you, and he also understands you, and he understands you're not perfect. He understands everything that you've been through. This is a great book to pick up. 5 stars, highly recommend. The next book I read was actually for a vlog, and I will link it below, but this was The Third Gilmore Girl by Kelly Bishop. This book was so much fun. It talks about Kelly Bishop's life, and this is, of course, Emily Gilmore on Gilmore Girls in real life. This is her person, and this is her memoir, talking about all the crazy things that she has done, getting herself set up for show business. She's been in Broadway, she's been a dancer, she's been winning all kinds of awards. She won a Tony Award. So it's talking about her life and her work and all the different things that she's done and gone through to set her up for her role in Gilmore Girls. And it also talks about all the different things that she has done in her life to really like embody the character that is Emily and to relate to it. She doesn't usually just pick up a script that she doesn't relate to. And so she truly relates to this character, and there's a really big reason why she relates to Emily Gilmore. And it is so fun. There were so many like sprinklings of tidbits of like things in the show you didn't know, relationships she had in the show with people you didn't know about. Also, it talks about Ed Hart, or it's Ed Hardy, I think, and his demise and how he passed away and how she was there for him. And it just talks about the year in the life, and it talks about Gilmore Girls in all ways. And I will say that it is not the main focus. Gilmore Girls is kind of like the end that you're getting to, and her whole life is kind of setting up to just tell the whole story. So it was so great, and I think that you will really enjoy it. Definitely check it out. So the next book that I got to was actually my friend Hannah. It's her book club pick, and this is for the Comfy Cozy Book Club, and her name is the Teacher's TBR here on Instagram. This was Cherry Pie or Die. I read it on my Kindle. It is on Kindle Unlimited, so definitely snag this one. I loved it because it was like colonial meets cozy mystery, and there's also grief representation. So there were so many different elements. So basically this girl who is going through grief and loss of her fiance, she runs home to the only place where she feels truly safe and loved and warm inside, and that is her aunt's B&B. And it is set in colonial town, Pennsylvania. There are a lot of historical landmarks that you can go visit, and there are tours. And so she goes back and she becomes kind of like a tour guide for all of the people staying at her aunt's B&B. She loves it. She's excited. So she ends up taking them on a tour, and the tour is specifically to the location of a place where a lot of folklore is going on, where they believe that these three ladies called the Three Sisters, I think, or the Maiden Sisters, I forget the name, but it's like their manor, and where they supposedly trapped and killed a huge like band of soldiers of an opposing side. And so there's like rumored to be like random deaths that happen in this place. And so she takes all of these people to the same place that has all of these spooky, haunty rumors, which kind of gives it like a bit of a fall, like Halloween vibe. But so what happens is, of course, a murder. And it actually has a very fast pace. I will say that this book jumped right into the murder very quickly. I mean, we know it's a cozy, so we know there's a murder. That's not going to be a spoiler. But the way that like they kind of have all these different people who could be suspects because they're staying in the B&B, it definitely feels like the old movie, A Haunting on a Hill, I believe, or The Game of Clue. It definitely has those vibes because you're going down through each person that is like sus and trying to get their backstory and like how they're involved, how they know the victim and stuff like that. And it also has, of course, foodie representation. They talk about cherry pie and cherry dessert, so it is like a food cozy as well. But I really enjoyed it. It kind of felt like a historical fiction cozy and a foodie cozy and colonial aspects all put together. So if you're someone who likes any of those vibes, you will like this book. I gave it a 4-star. I felt like the plot was plotting, and I really enjoyed it. Next book was my surprise read. Look at the painted edges. I love this book. Okay, this is Assistant to the Villain by Nicole Maehrer. I loved this book. I gave it a 4.5, which is basically a 5-star, let's be honest. There's also a really cute frog in here that you will get to know as Kingsley. Oh my gosh. There's so many great characters. I did not have high hopes. Did not. Everybody was scoring this very low. I went in kind of thinking it was going to be a 3-star, maybe lower, because everybody was like, meh. But this book was excellent. I really loved it. It is like The Office meets Ella Enchanted, which is what everybody is saying, and I completely agree. It has all of these almost like fantasy elements, but mixed in with like an office environment and office relationships. So basically this girl who has a struggling father who is going through a lot of different health issues, she has to find work. She's struggling to find work, and the only person that she can work for is the person feared by everyone in her village, and that is the villain. And the villain has a reputation as being somewhat of like a vigilante, kind of. He makes people suffer for things that he believes are wrong. And so she basically has heard a lot of rumors and folklore about him that's all negative, but she bumps into him in a chance meeting in the woods. The banter is unmatched, and from the moment they are together, it is electric. It was so much fun. It was such a cute fantasy rom-com. It's almost like a satire. Like, there's so many cool elements. It's kind of like The Office meets fantasy. So as the book progresses, the villain has many layers to his personality, and Evie, who is the main character, begins to kind of peel back the layers of this man. She finds more than she ever bargained for. That's all I'm gonna say because I don't want to spoil it, but there's like a dragon named Fluffy. There's a captured prince as a frog named Kingsley who is mute and can only hold up signs. And it is hilarious. There are so many like kooky, cute aspects in this. It also kind of reminds me of Princess Bride. I don't know if anyone else got that vibe, but it's kind of like that. So anyway, I gave it 4.5. Absolutely adored it. Pick it up. Pick up the copy with the sprayed edges. Maybe that's all that's available. Her new book is out, and it's actually a red book with purple edges. The next book that I read is Given Our History by Kristyn J. Miller. Now, everybody picked this book up because of the fall vibes on the cover. It was just okay. I gave it a 3-star. It wasn't like mesmerizing or anything. I will say that it's definitely more academic romance. So there's a college setting. It is professor love. 2 professors and scholars like fall in love, but they don't fall in love for the first time. There is actually a best friends, childhood friends, 2 lovers trope in this that you would probably really love. I think that the setting was beautiful. It was definitely fall. It's fall season into Christmas. And she does a lot of like flashbacks. So there's different POVs. There's also like different timelines, dual timelines. And I really enjoyed the story, and it was super cute, but it didn't like grab me like I wanted it to. I wanted it to be like My Oxford Year, like academic love that's heady and smart and intelligent, but also like steamy, and like you love it and you're so interested and on the edge of your seat. Like, I didn't have that, and I kind of just felt like it was just okay. That's my friend Jules' favorite thing to say about books. It was just okay. And I will say that like what is cool about it is she does kind of go into her whole past with this guy, and when you do get to the place where they finally reconnect and they fall in love again, it is sweet. I will say that it's kind of like Every Summer After by Carly Fortune. It has all of those vibes. So if you kind of want a fall version of Every Summer After, pick up this book, but no, it's also not going to be as good as that book, just so you know. But those are my thoughts. 3 stars. Basic tropes, basic setting. The plot was a little iffy. A lot of it is just following her career. So if you don't love academic stuff, you probably won't love it. If you're a professor, you'll probably love it. Okay, in my opinion, I saved the best for last because this book moved me the most this month. Now, I have a copy that was from my library sale, so they still has the library thing, just ignore it. But this book was absolutely fabulous. This is A Monster Calls by Patrick Ness, and it's actually an author that had to take over for this author. I think it's Sayabon Dowd, which it was like she started the book and then she passed away and he finished the book. The book is nothing but grief representation, which is what I, of course, love. If you know anything about me, which you probably have, you've been here for a while, my father passed away actually this month last year. And so it was very fitting and kismet and almost like destiny that I would read this book the eve of October. And what I loved most about this book is it follows a boy who is watching his mother slowly decline from cancer. And I relate a lot. I relate to every topic in this book. The trigger warnings, of course, are cancer. I would say just watching someone decline. Also, there's an element of like family disruption, divorce, grief, depression, like so many different things. But what I loved about this book is it is from the perspective of a person who is actually dealing with another person being sick. And so what I love about this book is it describes that you can have two thoughts exist at the same time that are juxtaposed, and that doesn't make you a bad person. Like, you can be so sad that your family is sick, but also so over sickness consuming your life and that being all that you ever hear about and all that you're ever involved in. Like, so he's a boy battling these different thoughts of like wanting to be there for his mom, wanting to be a good son, but also being so tired of being typecast in his life as the sad little boy who's always depressed, the sad little boy who will never get punished because nobody can tell him anything bad or say no because he's going through so much in his life. So he feels patronized, and so he calls on a monster basically to help him in his life make sense of what's going on. And the monster tells him different kind of fairy tale stories that are maybe more like parables of kind of how two people can have two thoughts that are polar opposite, but it still means they're a good person. So he goes through a lot of self-guilt. He goes through a lot of denial. He walks through a lot of grief. But the ending of this book has a very strong message. What I gathered away from this book would be like, pain is easy, but healing is harder. But it all begins when you let go. And sometimes you have to let go because it's the right thing for the other person. But also you can't beat yourself up about having negative thoughts related to a family member being sick and how it affects you. Because if we're being completely honest, when someone is sick in our life, whether it be a spouse or a parent, it affects our life and puts a lot of pressure on us. And it's kind of from the perspective of someone trying to navigate that. So I gave this book 5 stars. Go into this not expecting to be blown away. If you have not gone through grief, I don't believe this book would be for you, because I think grief is the commonality of anyone reading this book. So definitely check it out. There's also a motion picture. It is on Prime Video. I began it. I haven't finished it, but so far it's a great representation. So definitely check this out. Editing Leah here. I forgot to mention that Assistant to the Villain is from my friend Jordan's Patreon, Girlies Who Read. It is her book club pick. It is, I think, her first book club pick. So definitely check her Patreon out, and I will link it below. Those are all of my books for September. I hope you enjoyed this wrap up. I hope you got some great ideas. I hope that you got some honest opinions, and maybe you won't waste your time on some books that you feel like aren't really your cup of tea. And I hope that you enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe. That helps me so much when you like my video. It helps it circulate. If you subscribe, I would be so blessed and so happy. And if you don't know anything to comment below, comment your favorite September read or a pumpkin. If you don't know what else to comment, I would love to see all of the different fall vibes in my comments. And as always, I hope your books are amazing and your tea is delicious, and I will see you back next time. Bye-bye.